Hi, my name is Kremer, and I was a Peace Corps volunteer on the beautiful island of St. Lucia from the year 1994 to 1996. My project was working with an early childhood intervention program, beginning that program. I worked with community health aides and people from the Ministry of Education. I had a wonderful job because I was able to visit families all over the northern part of the island who had children with special needs. It provided me an opportunity to learn about their joys and their struggles as they lived their everyday lives. I traveled with the community health nurses who introduced me to the families that I was to work with. Instead of working with young children, however, I began working with any family who had a child with special needs. I also visited preschools and worked with children with special needs in those schools, supporting teachers and how to work with the children better and meet their needs. And also we provided them workshops and training. We also built a playground for the kids at one of the schools because they had no equipment to play on. We started a parent support group and a resource center for parents so that they could use the materials that I had made after I left, and also just to provide them support for one another so that they could better advocate for their child. People always ask what I achieved as a Peace Corps volunteer. I really don't think the big goals and accomplishments are what's really important. I think the small, seemingly insignificant events in my life were much more important and valuable to me as a Peace Corps volunteer. One little girl taught me that. Her name was Chanel. Her mother died when she was very young, and she lived with her grandmother. She had cerebral palsy and was malnourished. Her body was probably the size of a 5 or 6-year-old. I was aghast when her mother brought her out to me. She was in a fetal position, and she was nothing but skin and bones. She had lived in a bedroom for 11 years of her life in a dark room laying on a bed. She never saw the outside world. Her family and community were the only ones that had seen her. Her community was totally unaware that she lived there. Chanel was my first student, or more appropriately, I was hers. I worked with her grandmother on how to feed Chanel and how to do range of motion exercises with her to relax her body. We also worked with bringing her outside and being around her family more in her community. Chanel also had the first wheelchair of her kind on the island of St. Lucia. We had developed and designed one specifically for her body. Chanel was a very sad little girl and really showed no affect. My goal for her was to smile before I left that island. She had never smiled before, and I really wanted her to. About 3 weeks before I was to leave St. Lucia, Chanel gave me the biggest gift of my life, a big, beautiful, toothy smile. I cried, I laughed, I yelled for joy. Others around me were also laughing and smiling because Chanel had never smiled before, and this was the first time that she had. It was such a beautiful, genuine gift that she had given me, probably the best that I could have ever received from that island. Chanel and her family taught me a lot about the riches of the poor. One important value that they taught me, and I try to live out today, is just to know how to be present to someone, to be there and listen. Nothing else should matter except that person that's right in front of me. My mother gave me a bear before I left and told me to give it to my favorite student or child before I left the island. Of course, you probably all know who I gave it to. That was little Chanel. It was exciting living in another culture, and I left St. Lucia not only aware of another culture, but indebted to the people of that island for welcoming me into their heart and their lives. They taught me that we all belong to each other, and that we need to take care of one another, no matter what it is. Thank you.